She went through some issues and trauma. She had lost her vision. She needed to have a special surgery. She obtained her special insurance, and we want to make sure we are learning best practice. She sought my services. She told me her goal. We mapped a plan, driving through neighborhoods, relearning her skill set, making left turns hand over hand, making right turns hand over hand, and learning together. When we learn together, we work on goals. Gradually, I got her on the main thoroughfare. Gradually, I got her in the downtown Mount Clemens Trap area. Gradually, I got her into downtown Atlanta, Georgia. We worked on parallel parking. We worked on speed control. I got her getting on the expressway. I observed her hesitating a little bit, and hesitation is normal. It takes time. I shared the journey and the story of people sharing and working together. We want to understand that we must work together. We must improve. Now, let's talk about middle age, the habits that sneak in. This is 35 to 65, and we're going across all learners. And I need you to understand, no matter what age you are, you have an opportunity to learn how to drive. And this opportunity is incredible. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Drivers age 55 to 64 are twice as likely to be distracted by conversations with a passenger than younger drivers. So we have the younger group who's distracted. We have the group 55 to 64 who's distracted. Guess what? They're both distracted. How do we handle this? What do we do? Let's think for a moment. Okay, we thought for a moment. Tell your friends, can you please stop talking? I'm trying to learn how to drive. I'm trying to get better. Distracted driving remains the top 3 factor in fatal crashes across adult age bracket and not just teens. So guess what? Teens and adults, we have got to limit the conversations that we have in the car. We need to take our time. We need to manifest control. Your number 1 goal when you're in the car is to drive safe. I've been driving for 20 years. I don't need reminders. That's the exact mindset that leads to bad habits because you think you're superior. No one is superior, okay? Type in your question. You have questions, type it in because this is an interactive class. This is an interactive live. You want to share your information. You want to speak with intelligence. Speak with intelligence and share your information. Let's talk about the next topic that tends to cause all drivers to lose focus. Go ahead and put your question in and we'll go ahead and talk about it. I'm going to give you some time to put your question in. Here we go. Okay, a few of you have talked about this. What's going on, Heavy? So, parking lots. The rule is simple. If you are parked and you're backing out or pulling in, you need to yield to pedestrian. You need to yield to cars moving straight. Cars moving up and down the parking lot have the right of way. If you're parked and you're backing out or pulling through, you need to yield for cars that are going and down the parking lot. Also, pedestrians, and a lot of you are not talking about this, pedestrians are the most vulnerable in parking lots. You always need to yield for the pedestrians, whether they're beside you, behind you, in front of you. You need to have like a 360 camera in your brain, looking around, checking, and being aware. So cars going up and down the parking lot have the right of way. If you're backing out or pulling through, you need to yield. Pedestrians have the right of way in the parking lot over everyone and everything. Rolling stops and wide turns are overwhelmingly a casual driving habit. You're taking time to look at this. You're taking time to listen to this. We're not about being casual. We're about being our best authentic self. That is so important. Not a teen mistake. Examiners see this most in adults retesting after a lapse. A lapse, you're welcome. A lapse could be you lost your license, you got sick, you didn't renew it, you had some tickets, you went to court. Usually teen drivers don't have lapses. Once you get your license around 16 or 17, you're going to keep it through your life unless you get a bunch of tickets. And then that way you're going to be called into the DMV and you're going to have a hearing. And we'll talk about that and what a hearing is. So that is extremely important. Let's keep moving forward so we all understand what's going on. Talking on the phone without hands-free costs roughly 3 in 10 recorded driving distractions. So get off your phone, stay focused, lock into the driving task. Safety is no accident, okay? I've recalled seeing students driving and having their phone on their leg. Yes, it's always okay to ask the instructor some question because you are in the learning phase. You are in the permit phase. Ask your instructor a question. There's never a wrong question, okay? I'm going to pose a question for all of you and I'm going to drop it in and then we're going to see if you're going to lock in. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate you. Okay, so here's your question. Be honest. When was the last time you actually reviewed the rules versus just relying on muscle memory? I'll say it again. Be honest. When is the last time you actually reviewed the rules versus just relying on muscle memory? Okay, let's talk about this. Robert said, haven't seen the rules. So I would say to Robert, are you really driving? We all are governed by rules. There's rules for lives. There's rules for beginning drivers. There's rules for truck drivers. There's rule for school bus drivers. Here is a rule for a school bus driver. They must stop at every single railroad crossing, stop, hit the air brakes, put it in park, open the door, look to the left to check the railroad tracks, look to the right to check the railroad tracks. That is a rule they must follow. We all have rules that govern society. Without rules, there would be chaos. So I would say to you, Robert, what are you doing? We all have rules. Period. Adults returning to driving or teens returning to driving after nearly a decade. Okay. And this is really important because we're all at a different point in our life. Are you in the beginning of learning how to drive? Are you in the middle of learning how to drive? Let's talk about this. Adults learning to drive, city dwellers, license reinstatements face nearly identical anxiety patterns as first-time drivers. Will driving instructors mark off if you are switching lanes right after making a left turn? I would say you need to stay in the lane for a minimum 3 seconds. Once you make your left turn, you need to go at least 1.5 to 3.5 seconds. You can't just make a left turn and cut over because you're going to cut over and hit someone. Stay in the lane, a car lane, a 1001, a 1002, then make your lane change. We don't want to rapidly cut over to the left and then rapidly cut over to the right. You would be marked down. Be patient. Take your time, signal early, check your blind spot. That was a second. That was 2 seconds. Really need all of you to lock in, lean into these examples, okay? This is really important. Next, we're talking about defensive driving refreshers. As an instructor, every couple of years, thank you for the thumbs up. Let's eat. Let's eat. Love you guys. Let's keep it going. Let's go to the next question.